All right, National College Football Roundup. Number one, Alabama escapes Austin, Texas with a 20-19 win. And said, unless my eyes lied to me, Texas was a better football team for 3 quarters. They look good, man. I know there's no moral victories, right? If you're Texas, but that team has to feel much better about themselves than they felt going into the game, right? It's got to be how that they went toe to toe with what everyone thinks is the best team in the country and probably should have won the game. Should have won the game.
Yep. They should have. They should have. I can't believe I'm saying it, but they had every opportunity to win that game. They did get screwed on a call that should have been a safety.
Did you think his shin was down?
I didn't think his shin was down, but I didn't think it was roughing the passer, and it was intentional grounding in the end zone. So it should have been a safety. Terrible call, but they had other opportunities to win the game. Biggest shock for me, how good their offensive line handled Alabama's defensive line and how good their defensive line did against Alabama's offensive line. I thought those were going to be the two biggest mismatches on the field. And quite frankly, it was either a stalemate or they won both of those battles.
Yeah, they couldn't get much going in the run game, right? If they would have been able to get Bijan Robinson going a little more in the run game, maybe that's what ultimately would have won them this football game. But yeah, I'll just say it. Texas defense looked awesome.
They looked great.
They looked really, really good. Physical at the line of scrimmage. Man, they had safeties coming downhill, laying dudes. I was thoroughly impressed. And poor Pete Kwiatkowski gets no credit. Everyone's just saying it's all Gary Patterson.
He had to tweet it out. It's like, and instead of just saying nothing, it draws more attention to it whenever you say, hey, I'm just here doing my part, people. Everyone's a team effort, all that stuff. We, not me. He's basking in it right now. Gary Patterson is.
Yeah. But Bryce Young, team needed him to step up. Last drive of the game, go win the game. It's exactly what he did. Yep. I mean, a Heisman Trophy type drive there, little Houdini act. I'm sure Ryan Watts, the guy that missed him for Texas, will be thinking about that one for a long time. But
I thought, here we go again, Alabama kickers. What's going to happen here? But he drilled it.
And we haven't even talked about the Quinn Ewers part of it. I mean, because Hudson Card was banged up too. I mean, he was limping around. I mean, he looked awful.
Everyone's making a lot of Quinn Ewers. I thought Hudson Card played really good.
He was fine, but just some of the throws. I would say we have approached the Quinn Ewers situation skeptically, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, we haven't seen this guy play much football. Before we start giving him a bunch of praise, let's see him. He was great when he was in, man. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was pushing it down the field to Xavier Worthy, but he looked good. I mean, Texas defense looked good. Quinn Ewers looked good. And I was just watching. I just wanted to be entertained. I was bummed when he got hurt, man. It was that AC joint right when it happened. And it was such a bummer because I just wanted to see him play the entire football game against Bama. Who knows if the game goes differently? Maybe he makes some critical mistakes. We'll never know. But him going out with injury, that sucked.
Yeah. I think he'll be back. And maybe it's different, but I saw the update said it was his SC joint.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
It's where it connects right here. And I've dislocated that before, and it's not nearly as bad as the AC joint.
Okay.
Because the AC joint is it moves a little bit more, and it's obviously exposed more. This one right here doesn't move as much, but I don't know how it, like throwing the football, it obviously probably doesn't feel great, but I think, they said 4 to 6. I bet he's back quicker than that.
Yeah. I guarantee you, he'll be back for OU Texas. We all know that.
Oh yeah.
Cause that's how it always works.
Yep.
But and Bama won the game, right? You go on the road. Sounded like it was a very hostile environment there in Austin.
Give it up to UT. They showed up.
This is the most Texas compliments we have ever passed out on this podcast. I can't believe what's happening right now. But Bama it was so weird seeing them look so undisciplined.
I know.
It was bizarre. 15 penalties, and some of them were really, really dumb. Like even Will Anderson just lost his mind. It's like, it was really weird seeing them play undisciplined football like that. And then Texas, man, they had to be watching that tape on Sunday going, man, how many missed opportunities? I mean, because what? They missed a 20-yard field goal. How many times did they settle for field goals? 3 times? Mm-hmm. They're settling for field goals there, deep in the red zone. Xavier Worthy dropped a touchdown. They dropped an interception. Like, they I know that's woulda, coulda, shoulda stuff, but like they should have won that game. They looked like the better football team for the majority of the game.
I was convinced for most of the game that they were going to win it. And I thought that they were going to, at one point, start to separate. But here's the thing I will say, though. We have seen a bunch of times where Texas plays up to their opponent and does so well. The problem for them is they're about to play a damn good UTSA football team. And the Texas I know from the past is going to be patting each other on the back, talking about how good they are and how they finally arrived. And UTSA is not even worth their attention. They're already looking down the road for the big games. And someone like that will jump up and bite them. Like, if they really want to get my attention, they follow up that performance and go out and stomp on a what is a really good UTSA football team.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, let's move on to our next game. Tennessee went to Pitt and got an overtime win. And if you watch this game, both teams tried to give this thing away. My goodness. I mean, now Pitt they were controlling things early. Like, it looked like it was going to get out of hand early in that football game. And then Keaton Slovis, that interception in the end zone kind of changed the entire trajectory of that game, because instead of it being 17-0 or 13-0, Tennessee gets that interception in the end zone and then goes down the field and scores to make it 10-7. And the game was kind of on from that point on. Slovis going out with what everyone's assuming was a concussion in the second quarter, clearly had a huge impact on the game. But I thought Hendon Hooker was pretty dang good in this game. Now, when he needed to make big plays, and the biggest plays of the game he made were to Cedric Tillman. I thought that when they needed him to make big throws, he did some really good things. But Teddy, you love special teams. I would say you are passionate about special teams. And special teams were an absolute dumpster fire in this football game.
In this football, how about for the entire weekend, college and professional? It was a dumpster fire, except for some things are as they always are. Kansas State had a punt return for a touchdown. Shock.
Yeah, shocking. But yeah, Tennessee had a punt blocked. They muffed a punt that Pitt recovered. Pitt's kicker missed 2 field goals. So it was quite the disaster. And then the backup quarterback for Pitt, Nick Patty, he did a good job, leads them on the drive to go tie the game, but then just takes a massive sack in overtime. And it was just, it was a nice win for Tennessee. I don't know how good their defense is. I thought they would score some more points, or maybe I thought they would get off to a faster start in this game, but ultimately, and Heupel talked about it after the game, like this isn't a game that Tennessee wins the last couple of years.
That's what I was about to say. They find a way to lose that one last couple of years.
Yeah. So the fact that the game started the way it did, they were able to kind of settle in, and then it kind of looked like Tennessee may run away with it. And it was a fun back and forth football game, but ultimately you go get a top 25 win on the road. Pretty big win for Heupel. I mean,
not only do you pull off a win, top 25 win on the road, cover.
Yeah. Covered the number. What was it, 6.5?
6.5. When it went to overtime, I said, we got a chance, baby. We still got a chance.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Best play of that game, though. Did you see that Pitt tight end hurdle that guy and run for that touchdown? That was awesome.
I did. That was great. I felt bad. You could see people laughing in the background before the play was even over. So I always feel for the defensive guy in that situation, but that was awesome. That's one of the most perfectly timed hurdles I think I've ever seen, because he didn't really even have the height to go over the guy. It was just so perfectly timed that it worked amazingly.
I'm sure that's going to be an awesome picture for that guy to hang on his wall. I mean, that's going to be sweet. Okay, last game. And a game that did not go the way that we thought it would. Baylor goes to BYU and loses in double overtime, 26-20. The first half, if you watched it, it was a good old defensive battle.
Dude, there were some pads popping in that game. My goodness.
Yeah. And you got to give a lot of credit to BYU's defense.
Yes.
Yep. I thought they did a really good job of slowing down Baylor's run game. Longest run for Baylor, 13 yards. I mean, and BYU, they just did a really good job of limiting big plays. Longest pass was like 19 yards. And Baylor, I thought that the big play was going to be a much bigger piece of their offense this year. And it was in the opener, but once again, they weren't playing anybody. Blake Shapen didn't connect on any of those big passes in the vertical passing game off, the play action stuff. I thought that they would have quite a few of those, and they didn't. I thought the BYU drive before halftime was big, right? To go score the touchdown there. That was impressive stuff. And Jaron Hall, he wasn't perfect for BYU, man, but he did some good things.
He did
some really good things.
He did. I thought Shapen, I thought he did a good job. He was more athletic than I thought.
Yeah, he moves around well.
He moves around really well. And I was surprised that he was pressured as much as he was and pushed off the spot as much as he was. I thought Baylor's offensive line was going to hold up better. And you're right, credit BYU's defense, because Baylor, they kept hitting those runs, and their two backs are just like Abram Smith was last year. They are big, they are physical, and they come downhill. I just kept waiting for one of those to, instead of being the 6, 7, 8 yard gainer, that they would bust it loose and get out into the open and turn it into some big explosive plays. But they just could never break away and cause that big game changing type of play. So that was a great game though. Really good atmosphere. What the hell are those things that they all pass around and eat after one another?
I don't know. We need to get what was that?
Is it it's like a cookie, or it's called a cougar tail? But they just hand them around and everyone bites off the same thing. It's crazy.
Can't be sanitary.
No, of course not.
But yeah, I don't know. I saw that. I was like, BYU, they're just kind of weird, man.
Hey, I got to tell you, and I hate to admit this, I could not physically keep my eyes open anymore after the first overtime.
Oh, you fell asleep before it ended?
I didn't even fall asleep. I was like in physical pain trying to stay awake. I just turned it off. Did BYU score first in the second overtime?
Well, so remember, yes.
I think whenever they scored, I like turned it off. I was like, okay, Baylor's not going to be able to get it done.
Yeah, well, Baylor, they got it down to like the 3 or 4 and then had a couple false starts that pushed them back.
Yeah.
The things did open up in the second half a little bit in that game. It was a fun game to watch, but the end of this game and overtime, it's a great reminder. Never leave it up to the kicker. What Old Royd or whatever his name was misses to win it in regulation for BYU. Both kickers miss in the first overtime. Never leave it up to the kicker. That we talked about Alabama having a bunch of penalties. Baylor, 14 penalties.
Well, and what's his name got tossed, Doyle, and that hurt them. That's such a bad call to me. I could never accept that that's targeting and that he should be kicked out of a football game for that play. It's just not right in my opinion, but whatever.
It's a really severe punishment, you know?
Yep.
But
on a play that's not a malicious play, it's just a football play. Like, I understand if you peel back on a guy and just go decleat someone. I understand if a wide receiver, the ball's overthrown and the safety just comes over and just destroys a defenseless guy. I get that, but in a football play, it's such a severe penalty. I hate it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. But I will say, I kind of disappointed in that loss for Baylor. And it's not just because I, picked them to win the game, but BYU didn't have their best 2 wide receivers. It's the type of game. Like, if you want to be considered, a top 10, top 15 type program consistently, like, got to win some games like that. And I felt like they let one get away.
No doubt. Totally agree. And Baylor's kind of had a problem with that recently, that they've lost some games that, and this isn't necessarily a head scratcher. I mean, that's a top 25 team on the road. BYU's a tough football team, but they've lost some games where it's like, now hang on, I thought you guys were past this kind of stage, but you know what? That's college football. College football, it's just the nature of college football.